So I need to start by admitting I didn't see a lot of the game between Calgary and Detroit. But I was already going to do a video about Calgary. I was. So this is a two-parter. You're getting two subjects in one video. I need to start with the fight. I need to start with Witkowski and what he did. So he takes Kulak down with one punch and then ragdolls him. I don't blame Calgary Flames players for being ticked off about it. The guy's down. There's sort of an unwritten rule book about fights, and when the guy's down, you let up. That's it. Bobby Probert, who was the toughest guy I ever saw, once the guy's down, that's it. Fight's over. So Witkowski didn't make any friends, and then he gets kicked out of the game. And on his way off, Flames are beaking at him, and he decides, oh yeah? You come here a minute. And he comes back onto the ice. And the fight is on. With both benches ready to go at it, coaches ready to go at it, Dave Cameron yelling at Jeff Blashill. There was a lot of frustration with Calgary tonight. Lots. This is the first game of, I believe it's a 6-game road trip. And they were getting spanked pretty bad. And I feel bad for the way this game went down for the Flames, even though I don't cheer for the Flames. Because in the midst of all this, and kind of forgotten, the big fight and the brawl and everything that happened after even the goalies were fighting, is that Eddie Lack does not have the confidence of his coach. And tonight's game won't help. Eddie Lack, let me just load this up. All right, so I found it. So Eddie Lack allowed 5 goals on 15 shots. And the weird part of it is, Lack is known for being poor to start the season. I remember that in Vancouver. He went through the same thing in Carolina last year. But with no confidence from his coach, now there's questions of, are the Flames, depending on Mike Smith's health, are they going to need to go out and find another goalie? Because they want John Gillies to be in the American League. Gillies allowed 3 goals on 12 shots. They don't want Gillies being thrown to the Wolves right now. They want him to get his confidence up, at least have one more year in the American League, and then bring him up. So the question then gets asked, in this crazy, crazy world, would Antti Ranta be available? Another name is, would Gibson, or not Gibson, I got Gibson on the brain from the Anaheim game. Would Chad Johnson be available from Buffalo? Like, this is how crazy it's getting. Is that, there was some speculation during the game when they were talking about who Eddie Lack might be replaced by, that maybe Johnson would work. I feel bad for Eddie. I understand why the Flames don't have a lot of confidence in him. I understand why the coach is reluctant to go to him, unless Smith's hurt, as is the case tonight. But, this game ended up overshadowing all that. Look at the penalty minutes. Backlund ended up with 16. I still don't understand that one. Hamnick got 15, which is fine. Brouwer got 10. Tkachuk got 15. And again, I don't like Matt Tkachuk. But I don't know how you spear somebody when you don't have your stick. He kind of half-hearted tried to spear somebody. He kind of started poking his stick, but before he could poke his stick at somebody, it got knocked out of his hands. It was on the ice. So the idea that he got a 5-minute spearing, and let me just check, I've got the game. I've got all the information here on what happened. And it's all at 14:04. It's insane. So Kulak for fighting. Witkowski, 2 misconducts. So that's 20 minutes right there. Mantha, 2 misconducts. Tkachuk got 5 minutes for spearing. And the 10-minute misconduct. Like, there's a lot of penalty minutes. And the funny thing is, I was looking through the record book today for a video I'm going to do either later tonight or tomorrow. The idea of, records that won't be broken. And I was looking at all these penalty minutes, and all these games had so many penalties. I'm like, we don't see that anymore. Good thing I didn't do that video today. Good thing I was at work, because it would have looked silly when you consider what happened in this game. This was a ton of penalty minutes, considering that the first and the second didn't have any fights. The Flames, obviously the score bothered them. the fact that they got spanked so bad by the Red Wings bothered them. They knew what they had in terms of they had a 5-2 homestand. They had looked really, really good. And then it all went off the rails. Now, the good news for Calgary is on two levels. One, they don't have to play the Red Wings again. And two, they can move on from this easily. Because the score got so out of control, to me, that's easier to overlook. I think when you get spanked like this, when you lose a game 8-2, you can't look after and say, well, if this puck had bounced this way, the only bounce that the Flames wish they had was a puck right to the face of Witkowski after he knocked down Kulak. That's the only bounce they wish had gone differently. I genuinely think that Witkowski should be suspended. Because Witkowski was off the ice, he'd been kicked out of the game, and he came back out to continue an argument. Witkowski should be suspended. It should be treated the same as a player jumping over the boards onto the ice. And for players who reached out and grabbed from their own bench, I think there may be a suspension in the works for them too. Because, again, we all remember, I remember, I may be the only one that remembers, back in the 80s, this was standard. Back in the 80s, as soon as Witkowski got back on the ice, both benches would empty. Both benches would empty, no question asked. And I'm telling you, the Flames and the Red Wings were ready to go. They were ready to go. But because of immediate required suspensions, fines, and whatnot, they stayed where they were. They didn't want to. And then, as the game wore on, after that, Backlund got the game misconduct. Brouwer got the misconduct. I think it was Brouwer that got the misconduct for yapping at the ref. The funny thing to me is that, or it could have been Backlund. Either way, I don't really blame the Flames for talking here. I normally will say, just play the game and don't say anything. In this case, I really don't necessarily blame them. This was already a really bad game for them, and the fact that the Red Wings came out of this with a 5-minute major power play, and then there was a 2-man advantage for 2 minutes, I don't blame them for being mad. They're kind of right. And every time you saw a Flame on camera after they'd been down 2 men, they weren't being very nice to the officials. There was a lot of talk at the officials from the Flames after that. And again, I don't blame them. The only risk you run when you talk that much at reps and you get that many misconducts and you get guys getting kicked out of games is that going into the next game, oh no, the Flames have a reputation. They're hotheads. You got to watch them. You got to hit them early just so they'll shut their mouths. I saw it in Vancouver. Refs, linesmen will get it in their heads that certain teams, you got to watch them. So we'll see if this is a one-off. We'll see if in the next game that the Flames play, they get some weird calls against them that they shouldn't. Because refs are trying to send a message that, it can happen. It was last year that Kerry Fraser admitted the referees keep books on certain guys and that they exchange information on which guys they think need to be watched in games. Or which guys dive and try to make referees look bad. It happens. Referees, keep track of these guys. So if there are members of the Flames right now, and I'm thinking of Matt Tkachuk, he got a weird 5-minute spearing that he didn't do. I can't stand Tkachuk. He didn't do it. So, was that what happened tonight? Is it, well, we got to get 19 out. So you're out. Yeah, you kind of tap the guy with your stick. You're out. You're done. We're done with you. And is this one of those referees have a book on Tkachuk so he has a shorter leash? I'll be interested to know what you guys have to say about this. And I understand that, Detroit fans are happy with the win and Flames fans are going to be upset with the loss. But there's other things going on here. And for me, the Eddie Lack storyline gets lost. And it's too bad because this is probably Lack's last shot. And if the Flames cut him or they waive him and he passes through waivers, or he ends up, you know, as a fifth guy in Vegas that gets cut by Vegas as soon as one of their goalies gets healthy. Like, that's a sad way for it to end. So I really hope Eddie Lack, who's a really nice guy, and nice guys do finish last, they say, I really hope that he gets a chance to prove himself. If Glenn Gullitson's got it in his mind that Eddie doesn't have it, I respect Gullitson's opinion. I just hope he proves Gullitson wrong. Let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And don't worry, I will summarize other action that happened tonight. I wanted to do a separate video on this because it really does warrant having its own video for this game. This was simply an odd, bewildering game, and it lost in it is that Detroit played a fantastic game. Athanasiou with a good game. Everybody with a good game, really. I mean, outside of the penalty minutes. Let's just, you know, crank up Detroit here. And 25 penalty minutes for Mantha and 2 goals and an assist. I would say that qualifies it as like 2 hat-tricks, 2 Gordie Howe hat-tricks. I know he didn't get 2 assists, but 25 penalty minutes are pretty good. And Witkowski got 37 penalty minutes. The record, and this is one of those records I was looking up today, Randy Holt had 67 penalty minutes in the first period of a game. He had 2 game misconducts. He had a double game misconduct. So that's the record. Witkowski gets a little over halfway there, and it's a record I didn't think anybody'd ever get over halfway there again, because penalty minutes aren't really a common thing anymore. The next highest on the list is Eriksson with 4. So again, there's 2 Red Wings who get all kinds of penalty minutes, and then there's about 4 or 5 Flames. So again, let me know what you guys think. It was a rough game all around, and I hope there are no injuries out of this. I hope Hamnick's okay. He landed pretty hard. And I hope the goaltending issue in Calgary gets settled in a way that Eddie Lack keeps his job. But again, I'll talk to you soon, and you guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below.